Welcome back, Lorcana players. It's Poisonous. Today we're gonna go through a gameplay video that I filmed at my locals this week. I was playing one of the new decks that I featured in my last video, which is the red-purple Evasive deck. So I just wanted to show you some gameplay, how it does into a competitive matchup, and talk about some of the decision making throughout the game. So here's the deck list. It's available on my Dreamborn Creator profile. So this deck list runs 12 1-drops and only 4 2-drops. So you're kind of relying on playing more 1-drops on turn 2 or playing the Evasive Pegasus. For 3-drops, we have the Merlin Crab, Sisu, and we're running 3 copies of the Peter Pan Shadow Finder. He gives your evasive characters rush. So once he's down, the next evasive characters you play can rush in, which is very helpful. We're running 4 copies of Genie as our card draw engine, and he's also a questing powerhouse. Our big body attackers are the new Iago card, who's evasive, which would get rush, and he's got a huge body for challenging things. We also have Maui, Goat, and Elsiph's Spirit. We're running 2 copies of Medusa for some removal, and we're running 2 copies of the big Sisu to shift onto the Emboldened Warrior for some extra removal. 4 copies of Brawl, 4 friends, 3 B preps, and we're also using Library as a location to threaten the board as well as generate additional card draw, especially off our 1-drops. But the Library is really powerful in the current meta. So we're going to jump into the gameplay. As always, thanks for your support. I appreciate all the likes, the comments. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We're on the push to 1,000 subs, and your support really means a lot to the channel. Without further ado, let's hop into game 1. I'm on the draw versus Purple Steel. So our opponent starts by inking Snake and setting up a Magic Broom. We're gonna ink a Pegasus and play Chernobog's Followers. This way, if they leave the broom, we can decide if we want to trade or not, or we could banish it to draw. So our opponent quests, and then they ink a Goat and play Mr. Smee. So they do leave the Magic Broom down. We ink a Broom, we play Pegasus. He's evasive, but he also threatens the Mr. Smee. And I decide to trade here. I think that because we're on the draw, the extra card draw is not as important to us as it is to our opponent who didn't have a card on their first turn. So they play Fire the Cannons, take out our Pegasus, and they play Helga Sinclair. So she's an evasive 0/4 with Challenger 3. So she's a good card into like Diablo and our evasive deck conveniently for our opponent. So we ink a Broom. For 3, we play Peter Pan Shadow Finder. So he's got Rush and Evasive, but I don't want to trade our only character for the Smee. We need to establish a little bit of a board here. So our opponent quests with Helga, plays Fox, and picks up Helga. The camera is just slightly not showing the whole playmat here, so I apologize for the setup. They ink a Fox, and they're worried about the rush factor with more evasives for Peter Pan, so they don't exert the Smee here. But now they don't have an evasive, so we sing Friends with Peter Pan to draw some cards and build up some resources. For 3, we play Library. So the Library, although they can pretty much take it out with what they have on board, it's going to force them into exerting their characters, which is going to set up some value for our rush characters with Peter Pan. Our opponent plays the Helga Sinclair again, and they play another one, so this is going to cause a bit of a problem for our evasives. So our opponent quests with Smee, they challenge the Library with Fox. We gain a lore for Library, and now we have some options. So we pay 1 to move Magic Broom to the Library. This way when we banish it, we can draw 2 cards. So we play Iago, banishing the Broom to draw 2. The Iago gets Rush because of the Peter Pan, so the 4/6 body very strong here. So we use it to take out the Fox, protecting our Library. And then we trade the Peter Pan into the Smee. The Peter Pan can't really do anything because of the Helgas on the board. So it's time to get rid of the Peter Pan before they can bounce it or do something to protect it. So our opponent inks Smee, they play Library and move both Helgas into the Library. trading 1 for the Yago to draw a card, and then they do 3 damage to our library. So they can't quite take it out here, which is convenient for us. We can try and fight back on board and protect our library now. So we ink Diablo, we brawl the Helga. Now they don't have a character to attack library. We play another Shadow Finder, and we put 2 damage into their library. Our opponent plays Goat, gaining a lore, and then they play Chernobog's Followers. We gain 1 for our library. So seeing that our opponent only has 1 card in hand, and the fact that they have Chernobog's Followers on board with the library that we can't take out, meaning they could draw 2 more cards, I decide to cast a Be Prepared here, which protects our library, and it gets rid of their Chernobog from drawing 2 cards. So it's a bit of a gamble, but with only 1 card in their hand, to me it seemed like an ample opportunity to take away the future resources that they could gain in that situation. Even though it's not a big board to be prepared, I think that it was actually one of the turning points of this game. They play, and we play Friends to draw 2 more cards. So now we have lots of hand resources. Their Diablo is not able to challenge our library and take it out, so it's not really able to do anything here. So you can see in our opponent's hand, all they have is a library and a Fire the Cannons. The Fire the Cannon's not really great in this board state, so they play out the library. They move their Diablo to the on-damage library and quest for 1. So we have a Maui here. I use Maui and Genie to take out the on-damage library. At this point, they're at 12. They have the ability to gain a lot of lore from hand, so I'm doing my best to try and limit the amount of lore that they can gain. So getting rid of the libraries and keeping all their characters off board is kind of the priority for now. We'll try and come through after and win the game on lore. So our opponent accidentally puts their Diablo into this library without paying for it, which is a mistake that we both didn't notice because they had moved it to the other one that I did banish, and now it's into this one. So they pay 4 for Genie, draw a card, and knowing that their library is going to be banished here, they decide to play Fire the Cannons and banish it to draw 2. Of course, if it wasn't actually in the library, they might not do this play. So a bit of a mistake for both of us not to notice. This is, a friendly game. I don't think that anything was intentional here, and it's on both of us to keep up with the board state. So we play 3 for Sisu. We brawl their Genie, and then Maui takes out their library. We quest with our Genie, and we pay 1 to put Sisu at the library. So now all of our characters are there. We play Be Prepared. We're going to get 3 cards on our banish. Our opponent plays Pete, preventing us from doing any actions. They ink Strength without many characters, and all our characters having a lot of health. There's not a lot they can do with it. And they play out a library, which obviously is going to be easily removed with our Maui on the board. But they don't have a lot of other options here. So we use Sisu and Maui to take out their library. We play a Medusa, pay 1 to put her in the library, and then we quest with our Genie. So they play another library here, their card draw really not on their side right now. The other card they have in hand is Fox, so they don't have a way to actually play it. So our library has been on the board for a long time now, sitting there with 7 damage, but it's gained us a crazy amount of lore throughout the game. So we use Maui and Medusa this time to take out the library, since she only quests for 1. We can save our 2 questers to actually quest with. So I shift Sisu. There's nothing to remove, but it does quest for more, putting us up in the danger zone. And they Zeus our library as one last way to finally get rid of it after all that time. So we do win that one. It's a pretty convincing victory. Their card draws at the end weren't very good. So we'll go on to game 2. We're on the draw again. Our opponent starts by inking Broom and playing a Magic Broom. So we ink Diablo and we play a Magic Broom of our own. Similar start to last game. They ink a Giant Cobra. They quest with a broom, and they play 2 1-drops. They play a Diablo and a Turnabogs. They don't banish their broom here because our broom doesn't threaten to trade with their broom. So we ink Sisu, we play out a Pegasus. I'm not going to banish the broom here, because if they have Fire the Cannons, I don't want to be left with 0 characters on board. So our opponent starts by questing with Chernobog and banishing it to get a card drop so they can make the most informed decision possible. They pay 2 for Helga, threatening our Pegasus with their own evasive. They ink a Strength and they play out another 1-drop. They quest with their Diablo, so they're fine with us trading into it. So I ink Library here. I think it's a little bit too slow for this point in the game to play it. And I'm going to pay 3 to brawl the Helga. I don't want to have our Pegasus not be able to do anything, so now Pegasus is free to attack the Diablo. Since our deck relies heavily on evasives, it is important that our evasives be able to control kind of the evasive part of the game. Our opponent's obviously going to fight back against that because they know it's our strategy, but we want to maintain control of the evasive part of the board as much as possible. So they quest with their Chernobog, banishing it to draw again. They ink Chernobog to play Genie. Once again, they're fighting for control of the evasives. So we brawl the Genie. Brawling Genie always feels good. Trading up a 3-cost card for a 4-cost card with nice clean removal is very strong. So we quest with both characters. We're going to ink and then we're going to play out a Diablo. That way we can cycle our Magic Broom, getting a card draw, and setting up that second character in case they do have a way to remove one of ours. We still have one left. Our opponent plays another Genie. Banishing Broom, so they draw 2 cards, they ink a Broom, and play out Diablo. So they're really cycling a lot of 1-drops this game, so their hand isn't shrinking like it did last game. They have a lot more resources, which means that we need to be mindful of that as we go on. We have to fight to keep them from scoring extra lore as much as possible, because they're not going to run out of gas very easily. So we play a Genie of our own, drawing a card, we ink Pegasus, and we quest with our Diablo. We can't exert the Pegasus here because of their Genie. So their Genie sings along Came Zeus on our Genie, which is very strong. It's great tempo for them. They pay 4 for Goat, gaining a lore. They play out another 1-drop. So we top deck a Brawl, which is extremely convenient. Now we got rid of their Genie, our evasives are active again. So we ink Goat here. And we play out a Sisu, and now we can use our Pegasus to take out their Diablo. Again, because they're ahead on lore and ahead on card hand size, we need to prevent them from gaining lore as much as possible. The good thing is that we can get to our big top end, like Big Sisu and B-Prep, to equalize later. We just need to slow them down as much as possible for now. So our opponent quests with their Diablo and their Goat. They play Fox, picking up the Goat, gaining a lore, and then they take out our Diablo for free with the Rush. So they ink Giant Cobra, they play Pete. Seeing that we're at 6 ink, this is, a critical turn to prevent the Be Prepared. So for 3, we play out a Library. For 2, we pay to move both our characters into our library. And now Pegasus is going to trade with Fox, drawing us a card. And we'll take out the Diablo. Again, we have to stop them from questing as much as we possibly can here. We ink a Maui. So our opponent plays Library and another Library. They ink the Goat and put Pete into one of the libraries and quest with him. So they're down to 1 card now. At this point, we can probably assume that they have Dock. So we pay 1 for Broom and 1 to put it at Library. We're just setting it up to banish it in order to get our double card draw. So that's one of the great things about the library, is that you can use it to cycle your deck and get extra card draw. Then we use Sisu and Maui to take out the library that Pete is at. So they pay 3 to play out another Pete, stopping us from doing any actions. They play the Dock that we suspected they have, drawing 2 more cards. So they pay 2 here to play out a Mr. Smee, and then they ink Goat, in order to move Pete to the library before they quest with him. So they're being very aggressive. They're using the protection of Pete, assuming we have Be Prepared here, to try and get as much lore as possible on the next turn. With their standing characters, they can gain 4 more lore plus the library. So they're trying to force us into not being able to take care of everything and really pushing their way to the end of the game. So we pay 4 for Genie to draw a card. We draw Peter Pan Shadowfinder, which is very good here because he has Rush and now our Genie has Rush. So we're able to take care of more of their board than it previously seemed like we would be able to. So we use Maui and Peter Pan to take out their library. Because they don't have any cards in hand, they're also weakening our Sisu's strength here. But with the Sisu and now the Genie having Rush, we're still able to take care of their Pete, which we wouldn't have been able to do without the Shadowfinder. So it's very inefficient. But our main priority again is always just stopping them from getting any lore possible and then trying to win at the final goal line stand. We ink a goat and we'll move our Genie into the library as well. Our opponent draws Strength of a Raging Fire here, which actually isn't too bad considering they have a bunch of characters. So they do Strength, they do it on Peter Pan. That way if we play any more Evasives, they're not going to have Rush. So at this point all they can do is quest and try and grind out to the end of the game here. Because their hand is empty, the Sisu only has 1 strength. Which means that based on what's currently on the board, we wouldn't be able to remove all of their characters. So Maui takes out Pete. So we play Sisu, 2 Chernobyls, and then we pay to move everything to the library. I think that this is our best possible course of action because it allows us to banish these Chernobyls next turn and draw 2 cards for each one. So we really need to cycle through our deck as much as possible here at the end to try and find answers on every turn. So our opponent draws a White Rose, which is actually a pretty good draw here because it has instant lore gain. So they go to 18. They play the Rose. So now we have to stop everything every time. So we're going to pop our Chernobyls 1 at a time to draw 2 cards each time. We need a way to be able to remove the White Rose. So at this point, our only option to do it is going to be to play a Be Prepared. So we quest with both Sisus. We pay 7. Banishing our entire board and our opponents, and we draw 2 cards for the Sisus that were banished at the library. So I ink Pegasus, and now I'm debating between playing a Pegasus or playing a Diablo. I do decide that in the end it's better to play the Diablo. The Pegasus isn't really going to do anything, but with the Diablo, if we have to Be Prepared again, we at least can draw 2 cards off of it, so I pay 1 to play it and 1 to put it in the library. If we had the Elsa 5th Spirit in hand, then I would probably say the Pegasus is a better play, so you play it and then no matter what character they play, you can exert it and run the Pegasus and Elsa into it. In this case, we do have to just quest with the Diablo and play Be Prepared again because we don't have a way to get rid of the crab here. So we do get to draw 2 cards. Again, we're cycling through our deck to make sure we always have an answer for the next thing our opponent plays. So we ink and we play a Pegasus and a Diablo. This way, even if they can remove 1 character, we're still going to have lethal this turn. So at this point they draw Zeus, which isn't helpful. So we're going to take the game here. So we won this game by just fighting and taking care of their characters, stopping them from gaining lore as much as possible. They're definitely the beatdown deck in this matchup, so we need to try and slow them down till we get to our really strong cards at the end. So you can see that this deck is powerful. The red cards like Brawl are very good in this meta, and with the kind of slower meta now, red-purple is competitive again with its card draw. But I think that instead of running the bounce package, that running the evasive package is very strong and it will allow you to fight into other matchups against Diablo, but it's still very competitive into matchups that don't use Diablo. So thanks for watching the video. Drop a comment, let me know what decks you're playing now that the ban has happened. Thanks for watching, please subscribe. Cheers.